from a real estate perspective that somebody has to pay attention to, and what would you do for the customer?
Yeah, the scenario is it's a funny spot where if I'm representing seller, buyer, the first thing, if I'm going to identify whatever the case is, would be if there's an issue, there's 3 rules. And I'm going to use this line, and he pinched me yesterday, but there's disclose, disclose, disclose. And then the other aspect is once you've identified it, and on a selling side of it, if you have an issue there, okay, shoot, what are we going to do? Kyle, actually, one thing that I'll start with as well is it visible, not visible? And in the event when there's something there, if there's a defect, a question, and it's on the buying agreement and on the selling agreement, but what is a defect? What is a latent defect? And it'll identify on the listing agreement as well. Do you know of anything that is expensive to fix? And can you expand on that? What is, in fact, a defect or a latent defect?
If I'm looking for a buyer, you have to keep in mind from the outset the old adage, buyer beware. So there's a fairly high degree of due diligence that you have to do as a buyer to make sure what you're buying doesn't contain defects. Now, on the flip side of that, a seller has a duty to disclose what's called a latent defect. We have a basic defect or a material defect. That would be something that would show up at an inspection. So it'd be like a hole in the window, a hole in the drywall, something that's easily discoverable. A latent defect, a trivial example would be that hole in the window. A seller puts a picture frame over top of it. One that's more common is you have a foundation crack, you have a seller put drywall over top of that foundation crack. That would fall what's called a latent defect, which any seller has an obligation to disclose at all times.